Hey everyone, welcome back to Ontario Gardening. So today we are making fire cider. If you are here for the recipe, you already know what it is. For those of you that don't know what it is, it's basically an ancient recipe for making our own immunity booster. So we basically put a bunch of plants and herbs inside of some vinegar, we soak it for a few weeks, and it becomes a tincture. You take it a teaspoon to a tablespoon per day, and it supports your immunity, especially when you have cold and flu season on us. So it's similar to like an elderberry syrup. I am going to put a disclaimer before I start. I learned the hard way with elderberry syrup. If you have autoimmune issues, which I do, I took elderberry syrup and it landed me in the hospital. I didn't know what was going on with my body, and it was until afterwards. So I just wanted to disclaim that first, because a lot of people see things on TikTok or YouTube and they're like, oh, I'm going to try this. And you just need to know the health risks that come with it. So just make sure you're doing some research before you ingest fire cider. But on that note, I'm going to show you how to make it. So every recipe is different. You can add herbs, you can take them away. It's totally up to you. I'm going to use what I have on hand and things that have come out of the garden. So the first thing I am doing is 4 tablespoons of grated ginger, 4 tablespoons of horseradish root. And if you find that you're having a hard time grating it, just chop it up lightly. You can use a food processor for the two of those. You're going to want 4 cloves of garlic. You want those peeled and sliced into little chunks, or you can even mince them. And then 1 large onion. I only have 2 smaller onions, so I'm just going to do both of them combined. And again, just a rough chop is fine for those. I have a jalapeno that's diced up. Mine were in the freezer, that's why they look like this. Those are going to go in. And then you can add some citrus, totally up to you if you want to. I'm going to for the vitamin C properties. So I've got an orange, a lemon, and a lime. Unless you have bought organic, so I mean if you can buy 1 organic of each, awesome. If you haven't got organic citrus, make sure to just wash it very well before you put the peels inside of your tincture. I'm only saying this because a lot of the pesticides and chemicals are held in the skin of the citrus. So we just want to make sure to get as much off as we can, anything extra that we can before we put that in. So we're just going to slice those up. And in terms of herbs for this recipe, I'm using some thyme and some rosemary. I've got some powdered turmeric. If you can get turmeric root where you are, that's even better. Grate it up about 4 tablespoons as well. I'm going to use about a teaspoon of the powdered, and I'm going to throw in some peppercorn, probably about a teaspoon of this as well, to activate it. Now, this is a very highly rated recipe with these ingredients here. You can add other stuff though, like I said. You could do calendula, rosehip, lavender. You could even add elderberry to this. So all those different properties that are going to make for a nice immune boosting drink. So the only other thing you need for this recipe, you don't need honey now, but you will once it's done, because you add honey to taste just to sweeten it up once it's done. So you will need the raw honey, but right now we are going to need some organic unpasteurized with the mother vinegar. So if you go to the store and you buy apple cider vinegar, so we've got a brand called Bragg's here. So you can see it's raw and filtered, and then down here it says with the mother unpasteurized. I'm in Canada. This was about 10 bucks for this almost liter. So basically this is what you're looking for. And when I say mother, it's got chunkies in it. But I actually make my own apple cider vinegar. So that's what this is here, and it's got the mother in it. So anyways, you are going to need a container. So this is big enough for a large size canning jar, which is almost 4 liters. I believe it is a gallon for you guys for in America. I can't remember the conversion, but a large canning jar. You know, you've got your jam jar, your mid-sized jar, your pint, and then your next size up. So this recipe is enough for that. If you had a bigger jar, so if I go into my cupboard here, some people have like even bigger jars, that they get even bigger. If I was to go to my flour and show you guys, so you would just have to adjust the recipe to that. And you also have to have enough apple cider vinegar to cover the contents. You don't want Anything sticking up at the surface, that's how we're going to invite mold and bacteria. So everything has to be covered. So when we're filling the jar, we're looking to only fill it about here. So I've got 4 liters. I'm sorry, 1 liter. I don't know why I said 4 liters. I've got 1 liter. And so I need at least 1 liter of apple cider vinegar. So actually this container here is also 1 liter. 4 cups. I think that's where I got the confusion from. That's my bad. So I've got my 1 liter. I am about to transfer all of my ingredients in. Now you don't have to make this pretty. You can do layers. You could just dump it all in and not care. Totally up to you, but let's stuff it. There's no particular order to this. Throw in some hot peppers. I was gonna like try and make fun little layers, but I think I'm just gonna like whip stuff in. I don't really care. I'll do that off camera and I'll show you what it looks like when we're done. So I've got pretty much everything in. The last thing I'm gonna do is just sprinkle a little turmeric on top. So I kind of just used an orange to hold it in place, similar to like a ferment. And now I'm going to pour the pure apple cider vinegar on top until everything in here is covered. So it is now at this point, if you'd like, you could take a knife and just kind of remove any air bubbles, make sure everything's covered in there. I will do that just for the sake of the video. You could put the lid on and shake it around too, but I just want to make sure that everything is in there and there's no air bubbles, because everything was packed in there pretty tightly. And now basically what's going to happen with this is we're going to leave it in the counter. We don't want to put it in direct sunlight, but we want it to be in a room temperature room, and you want to shake it daily. So make sure whatever container you're using has a lid. That's why I say this 1 liter mason jar just works out so well. So once a day, you're going to shake it all up. And we're leaving this on the counter for minimum 3 to 4 weeks before we can open this up and start to enjoy. Now, once it's time, you're basically going to use a strainer. And I'm talking one of these, not a spaghetti strainer. I think they're called a sieve. Anyways, we're going to use one of those to get all the contents out and then be left with only the liquid. And that's when we can sweeten it with the honey to taste. But that is fire cider, you guys. I'll do a short in 3 to 4 weeks. See how it's like up at the top there? The orange is kind of perfect to stop that, but you just want to make sure that everything's still covered every day and all is well. And I will check in with you guys in a few weeks to show you what the end product looks like. You're going to look for something very murky in color, just kind of like how it is already, but intensified. Hope that helps somebody. We'll talk to you later. Bye.